Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds. Finally, it's Friday. So we made a couple comments about interesting transfer portal situations this week. And now we got to hear from one of the guys involved in one of those situations.
And that key figure is the Tennessee Attorney General. His name is Jonathan Skrmetti. This is the Attorney General now. And he was one who, along with several other attorneys general across the country, filed suit to allow players to transfer. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't necessarily mean he liked it, but he's got to follow the letter of the law. He's the Attorney General. He called it yesterday a train wreck. That is how he referred to the transfer portal. They filed the suit, and because there were complaints, and you've got to follow the letter of the law, and there is no law. So they said, okay, there's no law here, and we've got to feel that the NCAA is violating the antitrust laws, so players can go wherever they want. But Skrmetti yesterday said it's a train wreck. What he meant by that is the fact that the government has to get involved and establish a law somewhere along the line. That's so you can have a formula to follow when a situation like this comes up. Right now, this is a mess. The nil is here to stay. That's the money involved. But the transfer portal is the big monkey wrench, so to speak, in the entire procedure, because these players can go wherever they want, whenever they want, and that is wrong.
Well, I mean, you can't have it both ways. That's the unfortunate thing about it, and I don't really know if they're going to open that stuff, and they've already kind of opened the floodgates. There's really I don't know what they can do about it.
Federal law. It's got to be some congressman or some senator who says, all right, we got to stop this. They're the lawmakers. They're the ones who vote and make the law what it is in the country for judges to follow. Now, you can interpret it differently, but if the law says you sit out after 1 year, you can transfer after 1 year. But the second time, you sit out a year. Third time, sit out a year. Fourth time, sit out a year. That would discourage a lot of this the way it used to be. But the NCAA, who had that law, is not a federal agency, and that can be interpreted as an antitrust law. Now you've got to have Congress get in there and establish some kind of a formula for them to follow, and I do think it's going to happen.
But Ned, you're all basing these assumptions on one thing, that Congress is actually going to get off their butt and do something.
I am busy.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. So it's interesting. Last week during the AFC and NFC championships, I thought they were starting to kind of do a slow rollout of all those Super Bowl commercials that they are going to play in about a week from this Friday. There were some that were like, 2/8 or whatever the date is, and I was like, oh my God. So it's funny that for years there's been, a lot said about the cost of those commercials, and now I think companies and businesses are looking and going, we need to get a little bit more burn for this money, so they're starting to kind of lay them out a little bit too.
Well, when you bought, NBC has it this year, and when you bought early in the Super Bowl sales, it only cost companies $8 million for a 30-second ad. All right, that's acceptable. But now the latecomers, they have to pay $10 million for a 30-second ad. Now, keep in mind that the TV folks, and they're pretty accurate with this one, estimate that 130 million people will watch the Super Bowl. It isn't one that really grabs at us because Chiefs aren't in it. But, in fact, that's what they estimate the audience to be, and it is New York and, it's Boston and Seattle, and these are fairly major markets, plus the different coasts and so forth and so on. So that's probably pretty accurate. 130 million people to watch your commercial for 30 seconds, and because it's a Super Bowl, people will watch. So maybe the advertisers are getting their money's worth in this.
Again, it's interesting, and I will be very, very, very interested to see what the numbers are as far as viewership after this one with those two teams in this game versus the ones we've been in. Last but not least, the Farmers Insurance Tournament is still underway. What's the deal?
It is Justin Rose who has the lead at 10 under par. Now, Scheffler and McIlroy are not playing. Brooks Koepka is. Brooks Koepka is making his return to the PGA Tour after several years on the LIV Tour, and there's another one too coming back, but Koepka was the big figure. He's one over par at Torrey Pines. He's already out of the hunt. He won't make it. Now, this is interesting because this is the last year for the Farmers as the Farmers Insurance as the sponsor. They're dropping their sponsorship as of the end of this tournament. Does that mean that tournament won't continue? Heavens no. The PGA will go out and find a new sponsor for it, and there will be somebody who will, but it will not be called the Farmers Insurance Open after this year.
And the Panthers were on the road last night, weren't they?
They were in Romeoville, Illinois. Romeoville is a suburb of Chicago, and the Drury teams were playing Lewis University. The Lewis teams are having a very tough year. Normally, Mike, they're pretty good. But the Drury Lady Panthers stopped Lewis by 10 points, 75 to 65, and the Panthers, the men's team, won 75 to 63. So a doubleheader sweep for the Drury teams in Romeoville. Now they head up to Fayette, Iowa, and they're playing Upper Iowa, and that will be tomorrow.
And we had the St. Louis Blues on the ice last night. Something that I've said pretty much all season long in regards to them is they can get a pretty good start, but they just can't close. Last night, they were able to close it down.
They did indeed. It was a 4-4 match late in the third period, and the Blues came back and won it 5-4. That's a very important win for them. The Blues are still 5 games or 5 matches. Do you call them hockey games? I guess they are. They're 5 games under 500. But they also have a lot of ties in there, and by ties I'm talking about extra shootouts, and you get at least 1 point. If you lose the shootout, you get 1. If you win the shootout, you get 2. The Blues are still quite a ways back of qualifying for the Stanley Cup, but they continue to win, and we'll see what happens. 5-4 last night over the Panthers.
And again, go Blues. So as we sit here, Australia is a little bit ahead of us in the time, so they are pretty much done with their matches in the Australian Open. Is that where we're at?
Well, the ladies are. They'll play their championship match tonight, which is actually Saturday down in Australia, and that will be late night. And I don't really know how late, but they have it on national television here. And as a matter of fact, the men are still playing in their semifinal. But the ladies' match will be Aryna Sabalenka against Elena Rybakina. Rybakina is the one who knocked out Jessica Pegula yesterday. So those two will play for the ladies' championship, and that will be tonight our time, but actually Saturday down in Melbourne, Australia. The men, Carlos Alcaraz is into the championship round. He made it with a 3-2 win over the tough Alexander Zverev. Zverev is a really good player who just simply can't get over the hump. And when you're playing Alcaraz, you better get over that hump. Second match has Novak Djokovic against Yannick Sinner, and Sinner's the number 1 tennis player in the world. And I mean, my goodness sake, Djokovic was perfectly honest. He said, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be. Djokovic was losing 2 sets to the Italian Musetti the other day, and Musetti had to quit because of a leg injury. So by a walkover, Djokovic got in. Well, Djokovic is playing Sinner. They played before many times. Sinner has the advantage. I think it's 3-2. In this one, however, the last report we had was that they were tied after the 2 sets. Sinner had won the first one 6-3. Djokovic won the second set 6-3. So they're in the third set now. It's a best of 5, and that competition's still going on down under in Melbourne, Australia.
Go old guys, Ned. Have a wonderful, warm weekend. I'll see you on Monday.